Guys, welcome back to another episode of Sloppy Saturdays. And today we got a continuation of our quarterbacks episode through week 3. Now, we talked about in the previous episode how weird the quarterback position has been in college football, how basically everybody that we expected to be great just hasn't shown up. And with that, we have had a lot of surprises at the quarterback position as well. Now, there's definitely 3, 4 guys on this list that I expected to be really good. I believe there is 2 guys on this list I had in my top 10 in the beginning of the year. So not all complete surprises, but definitely the top quarterbacks right now in the country, a lot of them we were not expecting. So we're going to go over if you should really buy into their stock right now, or if we're just talking way too soon on these quarterbacks. Let's get right into it. Now, the first person I want to go over is Devin Dampier. Devin Dampier, 5'11", 204. He is a dual threat quarterback for sure. Utah, I believe, had a great transfer portal, and I thought they were going to be contenders in the Big 12. My issue with Devin Dampier right now is we just flat out have not seen enough. We've seen them dominate against UCLA. They pretty much scored on every single drive. And then we see them against Cal Poly and Wyoming. My issue with Devin Dampier is I want to see him when they lock down the run and lock up the short game. With Devin Dampier, I feel like, again, there is limitations to his game. He's a great runner of the football. Utah has a pretty good run game right now, and then they do a lot of short screens. I want to see him when he has to make a couple of big throws to win a football game against solid competition, see how he fares out there. Again, there's no doubt that he could remain one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I really like what Utah has in place with him, and I think they're using his skill set best in their system. But like I said, UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming, 3 cupcakes so far. I want to see what he does this week against Texas Tech. Again, if he could really expand his game, hit some deep balls, some intermediate shots, because again, like I said, it's predicated on the RPO game, a lot of quick passes and runs. I want to see Devin Dampier in a little more action. Sample size just too small for me right now to really buy into Devin Dampier. And then the same thing for me with Thomas Castellanos. I am not buying into Thomas Castellanos and this Florida State team at all. A lot of people have this Florida State team ranked really high. They're ranked really high right now on the AP poll. We've seen Thomas Castellanos throw 25 passes in college football so far. Way too small of a sample size for me. Again, I think it was a freaky win against Alabama. I think the Alabama, Kalen DeBoer haven't been prepared for some of these unranked matchups in his era. But again, you can't take away anything Thomas Castellanos did in that matchup. 9 for 14, 152 yards. And he also had 78 yards on the ground, beating Alabama 31-17. And then against ETAM, 77-3 through 11 passes. I'm not buying into it right now. Again, very similar to Devin Dampier. I want to see what he does against a ranked school again that really clamps in on the run and clamps in on his game plan. Is he going to be able to make big passes? Is he going to be able to stretch the field? Again, I'm not buying in Thomas Castellanos. The guy that got benched at Boston College last year, he did it against Alabama. Biggest upset of the year. Can't take that away from him. But again, I want to see how he does against more competition, throwing more passes. Like I said, 25 attempts this year in 2 games. I can't buy into that right away. Next up, we have Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin right now, 77.9 yards, 78.9 completion percentage, 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Now, we said it. I think Julian Sayin going into the end of this year is going to be a better quarterback than Will Howard is. I think he's more talented than Will Howard. I think he's a pure pocket passer. My issue with buying into Julian Sayin right now as a top quarterback is we saw him against a ranked Texas team where, again, Ohio State couldn't really get nothing going. They win 14-7 in that matchup. That matchup is really decided by that Carnell Tate deep ball. Well, I thought Carnell Tate made a spectacular catch, and he threw for 65% of his passes in that matchup. Did enough to win the game. But, again, you're looking at Grambling where he throws at 94% completion percentage, and then you look at Ohio where he throws at 78% completion percentage. We saw him against a true test not have those type of numbers. And then we see him completing passes all over the place against these cupcakes. So I'm not buying into Julian Sayin being a top 5 to top 10 quarterback just yet in college football. Do I think he could get there towards the end of the year? Yes. I believe in Julian Sayin as a talent, and I believe in what Ohio State has around him for sure. But again, right now, we saw it against what he did against Texas. He did not have the offense on his shoulders. And then again, 2 cupcakes is going to really make me buy into that 78.9 completion percentage for the season. I am not doing that. Not buying into Julian Sayin right now as a top 5, top 10 quarterback. I do think he could end up there for the end of the year, though. Like I said, I do believe in his talent as a pure passer with the weapons he does have around him. A guy that I think is a top 10 quarterback, though, right now, that I would buy into the hype is Joey Aguilar. Joey Aguilar is, I believe, really what a quarterback should be in this Josh Heupel offense. He is the quarterback that is slinging it in this high-flying offense. 906 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, the reason why I'm buying into Joey Aguilar is because I see 2 games against one decent competition and one of the best teams in the country. Joey Aguilar did it, in my opinion. Against Syracuse, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then against Georgia, he puts in 5 touchdowns, 371 yards, 66% completion percentage. He does throw 2 interceptions in the Georgia game, does make 2 mistakes, but in my opinion, against Georgia, new quarterback in that offense, he had a short time to learn it. I think he did phenomenal. And again, Tennessee was in a spot to win that game with a field goal, 40-yard field goal. They did not do it again, and they end up getting on the wrong side of that game. But I can't take anything away from Joey Aguilar against one of the best defense in the country. He throws for 5 touchdowns. He throws for 370 yards. And he looks like a quarterback that is really benefiting from Josh Heupel's system. We saw Josh Heupel's system last year with Nico Iamaleava really being run through Dylan Sampson. So I like Joey Aguilar a lot. I think Joey Aguilar has proven against 2 pretty decent Power 4 competitions like Syracuse, decent competition, Georgia, one of the best teams in the country. He came, he showed out. I'm buying into Joey Aguilar hype right now. Next guy up, we have Marcel Reed. Now, Marcel Reed, I am 1,000% buying into Marcel Reed, buying into this Texas A&M team. Now, for Marcel Reed, I think Texas A&M did everything they could to make this guy successful. Marcel Reed has really said that he wants to be known as passing more than running the football. And this is a guy with 869 yards in 3 games passing the football with 9 passing touchdowns. Now, I believe Marcel Reed, again, the completion percentage at 58.6% is not where you want to be with those yards. But I believe Marcel Reed is just getting used to taking over this Texas A&M offense as a passer. And I think he's only going to get better as a passer. Like, you're looking at a guy that threw for 360 yards against Notre Dame. We saw Marcel Reed last year playing games where he only thrown 2 passes, rushing in for 3 touchdowns. So he's completely transforming his game, and I believe it's really due to the weapons Texas A&M put around him as well. When you look at Casey Concepcion, we always knew this guy was an absolute freak. When we look at Mario Craver, he's arguably has the best start out of any wide receiver in the country. Absolutely ridiculous start for him. So they have 2 X's at receiver, and I think Le'Veon Moss is also one of the best running backs in the country. Definitely one of the best short distance backs in the country as a power back. Like, this Texas A&M offense just has a ton of weapons. It's one of the most explosive offenses in the country. And I think Marcel Reed is only going to develop as the season goes on as a passer. We saw him against Notre Dame pull out this win with ice on the last drive, winning 41-40. But again, like I said, he had a 45% completion rate against Notre Dame. He did miss some throws. He is missing some easy throws throughout the season, which I expect to happen because Marcel Reed is just developing as a passer right now. Last year, he was just used as a runner. But with the weapons he has around him, it's only going to enhance his development. He's only going to develop more as he learns how to be a pure passer. And again, with his ability to run the football as well, with what he has around him, I love Marcel Reed. I love him as a Heisman candidate right now because I believe the expectations for Texas A&M this season were not as high as they are right now. And I believe that's a great storyline for Marcel Reed. And like I said, he might have the best weapons around him in all of college football. Marcel Reed, 100% buying into. Now, another guy that I am teeter-tottering with is Dante Moore. Dante Moore, 78.1% completion percentage, 657 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, the problem is with Dante Moore, he played all cupcakes, but I do believe in Dante Moore's talent. And what makes me believe in Dante Moore is how little he's running the football. We saw him at UCLA. It was a disaster, but Dante Moore, as a true 5-star, learning under Dylan Gabriel, he turns into a guy that's passing the ball way more than he's running the ball. And I believe in what Oregon has around him. They have multiple backs that are running the football at a high clip. And then you have the Corey Moore, who's the best freshman receiver in the country, possibly. And you have a guy in Kenyon Sadiq who's supposed to be a first-round tight end. I love what Dante Moore is doing. But again, 3 cupcakes, I do want to pump the brakes a little bit. I do want to see what he does at Penn State. If they can pull out an upstate there, then we're fully bought into Dante Moore. But right now, they do have an easy schedule. I believe they're going to coast through the schedule outside of Penn State pretty much. And Dante Moore's talent, I do like what I see from him. It is definitely encouraging because we did have some question marks because the last time we saw him was at UCLA and it was a dumpster fire. So, again, I'm pretty much buying into Dante Moore being a top 10 quarterback in the country for sure. I like Oregon's schedule. I do want to see him play at least a good game against Penn State. And again, if it's very similar to Joey Aguilar where Dante Moore plays a great game and just ends up on the wrong side of it, I'm still going to buy into Dante Moore as a top 5 quarterback. Right now, I have him in that top 10 range, though, because we just haven't seen the competition yet. Next guy up, we have John Mateer. Now, the reason why I'm definitely bought into John Mateer being one of the best quarterbacks in the country was because I had him as one of the best quarterbacks in the country going into the year. John Mateer, I think, is one of the best runners of the football at the quarterback position, if not the best. 161 yards rushing. He does have 944 yards, 67% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns. He has thrown an interception in every game. It's something to look out for. Now, what I do want to pump the brakes on for John Mateer is being the number 1 bet Heisman candidate right now. I don't believe in that because of just the gauntlet of a schedule Oklahoma has. I mean, you see them face Tennessee, you see them face Missouri, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina. Basically, every matchup here on out, they play Auburn this week. Every matchup here on out is a tough matchup for Oklahoma. I don't know if I believe in them in a team aspect to come out and have less than 4 losses for this Oklahoma team. That's why I don't believe in John Mateer as the top Heisman candidate, just because his schedule is a gauntlet. I do believe he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, though, without a doubt, as a dual threat, one of the best dual threat options in college football. And then as an NFL prospect, I didn't want to get into that as well. With his mechanics throwing the football, I'm still not 100% sold on him being a first rounder as well. I want to see more out of John Mateer. I thought the Michigan loom was definitely big for them, even though that was a game where Oklahoma had basically the whole way through. I feel like Michigan was really just playing not to lose. Bryce Underwood was basically playing with handcuffs on. I like John Mateer as a college quarterback. I think he's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the country right now in college football. As an NFL prospect, though, and as a top Heisman candidate with the schedule, again, I want to see Oklahoma really play out those tough wins. And then again, a guy that I believe could be the best quarterback right now in college football is Carson Beck. 812 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 4th in QBR with an 89.9 QBR. I really don't have to say anything about Carson Beck. I believe he's a top 3 quarterback in college football. I believe he could get right back into first-round conversations. I think what he did going to Miami was the best move possible because, again, they transformed Cam Ward into a first-round talent where he had third-round talent going into that year. And, again, Carson Beck, who I believe slipped back on draft boards for really no reason, he's going to turn into a first-round talent as well. Miami is an offense that puts it all on their quarterback's shoulders, and I believe Carson Beck looks phenomenal. I think he was a first-round talent last year. I think the same this year as well. I believe he was scapegoated at Georgia. Georgia led the league in drops. They didn't have any significant weapons. And what did Carson Beck do? He still put up great stats. He led them to an SEC championship. Again, Carson Beck was scapegoated. Georgia's going to regret letting him go, even though they are one of the top teams in the country right now. Carson Beck is arguably the best quarterback in the country, and I think he's going to remain that way. Buying into him as a Heisman candidate, buying into him as a first-round NFL talent. I've always loved Carson Beck, and I'm going to continue to be a supporter of him. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays. Drop down which quarterback's hot starts you are buying into, which quarterback's hot starts you believe aren't going to fulfill all the way through the college football season. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays, and we are